Coming up next, a shocking crime caught on video. The latest on the manhunt for the killer of a CEO on the streets of New York. Plus, massive snow dumping on parts of northwestern Pennsylvania is causing serious trouble. And a look at the revitalization of downtown State College. Why are so many storefronts vacant?
Even some of our typically big box stores, they're looking to make a smaller footprint.
The Center County Report starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Thomas English.
And I'm Jordan Spagnoli. Thanks for joining us for the Center County Report. We begin with breaking news, the heartbreaking story of a western Pennsylvania woman believed to have fallen into a sinkhole and died. Multiple reports today say her body has been found. It happened this week in Marguerite, Westmoreland County. That's about 40 miles east of Pittsburgh. The family of 64-year-old Elizabeth Pollard reported her missing on Tuesday. Police found her car and granddaughter near a newly opened sinkhole above a crumbling old mine. After 2 days of digging with no signs of life, search teams said they no longer believe Pollard was alive. They scaled back the search to a recovery operation, which resumed today. And within the past hour, officials have told 2 Pittsburgh TV stations searchers have found Pollard's body.
Another big story we're following is the blast of winter weather that's hit Pennsylvania this week. It's brought bitter cold temps, some snow, and also high winds. Look at this scene at State College yesterday. Park Avenue shut down in both directions after the wind knocked down a tree and it blocked both lanes near the Penn State campus. Traffic backed up and crews were brought in to remove the debris. Winds gusted to nearly 50 miles an hour in the State College area. In northwestern PA, the lake effect snow coming off Lake Erie has buried some towns in 4 to 6 feet of snow. More than 200 cars have been abandoned in Erie and interstates were closed. Members of the National Guard used Humvees to transport healthcare workers and people needing medical care. Some building roofs also collapsed as parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and Ohio deal with the heavy snow. Weather anchor Sean Romeo is here now with more on what causes lake effect snow. Sean?
Well, thanks, Thomas. Now, lake effect snow is pretty self-explanatory as to what it is, but what really caused it is cold Canadian air starting at the beginning of this cold season here comes over the much warmer lakes out in front of it. The Great Lakes are very warm this time of year. They're still about 55 degrees or so in terms of temperature on the lakes. Now, the peak season is late November into December before the lakes totally freeze over, and then you get sort of this temperature gradient is completely wiped out. It's very dependent on wind direction because you get very narrow bands of snow where heavy accumulations are on one spot and very, very light accumulations are only a few miles away. Now, what does it look like on radar? That answer is basically on our map right now. See these little narrow bands that sort of fall off Lake Erie up here? Where you get these little spots of snow that are very heavy, but then just next door, there's barely any snow. So I'll have all the details on when this starts to wind down the next couple days and how long that'll take. Back over to the desk.
Thanks, Sean. The intense manhunt goes on today for the man who murdered the CEO of United Healthcare on a New York City street. The disturbing surveillance video shows the masked man approach Brian Thompson on Wednesday. He then shot Thompson as he walked to an investors conference. Police say they found words written on the bullet casings that read, "delay, defend, and depose." It's a phrase commonly used to describe tactics insurers use to avoid paying claims. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said they're convinced the attack specifically targeted Thompson.
At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack.
Other new clues are emerging. Investigators believe the suspect may have traveled to New York on a bus from Atlanta and stayed at a New York hostel. They're also testing a thrown-out water bottle and protein bar wrapper to try and find the killer's DNA.
In a criminal case back here in PA, police say they're still looking for a man with an outstanding stalking and assault warrant in Center County. They say Michael Lloyd was last seen in the Collier Lake area on November 14th. He's believed to be driving a 2021 dark-colored GMC Sierra with PA plates. Authorities say if you see him, don't approach him, just call the police.
Penn State is among several Pennsylvania universities that are now paying back students because of the move to online learning during the pandemic. Penn State students going to school during the spring 2020 semester could be eligible as a part of a $17 million lawsuit settlement. Those eligible are expected to get a partial student refund of about $150. There's no application process. Refunds will be sent automatically by mail to the address on file with the university. A federal court will have a final approval hearing in February.
And graduate employees at Penn State are moving forward with plans to unionize. The group says CGE UAW organizers officially submitted more than 3,000 signed union cards to the State Labor Relations Board in Harrisburg. The graduate student workers sent notice to the university this week, saying they want improved working conditions.
Several new medical facilities have opened recently in Center County, including one in Bellefonte. Conrad Frisch takes you inside.
Center County residents are benefiting from newly expanded healthcare facilities opening in the area. One of them is the new Geisinger Bellefonte Medical Clinic, a $15 million facility that just opened to serve the Bellefonte area. It has nearly 30 patient rooms and more parking. The medical group says it'll be there for residents and also local students who need medical care.
I think we can certainly accommodate Penn State students in the clinic. So with the convenient care opening in early 2025, that is kind of that fast, quick care.
Other services are available there too.
We've also added some specialty services like X-ray.
Along with lab services, radiology, and primary care starting in 2025, Geisinger says the new clinic features technology aimed at speeding up check-ins so there are no lines.
The other thing that's new to us in this clinic is the kiosk registration. So when you walk in, there's no lines, no waiting for check-in. Our kiosks are facial recognition.
This is just one of several new medical facilities open locally. Center County's newest hospital, the $90 million Penn Highlands Healthcare, opened a few months ago on Colonnade Boulevard. It includes an emergency department with 10 treatment rooms, 18 inpatient rooms, and a trauma room. I'm Conrad Frisch for the Center County Report.
The new Geisinger Clinic in Bellefonte is located behind Weiss Market on Buckaroo Lane.
A $3 million renovation project is coming to the Pennsylvania Military Museum in Boalsburg. The museum will close on Sunday for the work, which will take about 14 months. The project will modernize the 56-year-old facility with upgrades to infrastructure, the artifact preservation systems, and the energy system. While the museum's archives and collection is moved off-site, the grounds will stay open for community events and school programs. Updates on the project will be posted on the museum's website and social media.
State College is looking to invite more businesses to make downtown their home by building more commercial spaces. But some of these spaces are still waiting to be filled. Yaya Wan is in the studio to tell us more about these commercial vacancies. Yaya?
Thanks, Jordan. According to the State College Redevelopment Authority, the borough is looking to, quote, assist with the preservation and enhancement of existing commercial areas. The plans to revitalize downtown State College are optimistic, but progress has been slow. In fact, many of us clearly see vacant storefronts when we walk downtown. So I asked the question, why?
In recent years, downtown State College has seen more and more high-rises being built to accommodate more students. Most of these buildings have spaces meant for commercial use, but turning these empty spaces into storefronts is costly.
If you and I wanted to go open a small business, the cost to take it from the current state of that space, especially conduit and concrete, to get that into a drywall ready to be fit out for whatever our business is going to be, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so having that capital up front to be able to do that is a heavy lift for a lot of small businesses.
The rise of online shopping made it difficult for small businesses to keep up with their competition. The pandemic further impacted them.
As these offices have shut down, you no longer have the workers that are here for lunch or picking up their breakfast and coffee. They're not running errands downtown or shopping for gifts or anything else. While they're here, they're just not here.
Even though the opening of larger franchises like Tropical Smoothie and Buffalo Wild Wings have generated some buzz in State College, consumers still want the experience that small boutiques like this one can give them. So, retailers are changing their criteria when it comes to looking for that perfect space.
One of the borough's main goals is to support small businesses. At the same time, retailers are now looking for smaller spaces to rent out to meet consumers in the middle.
Some of our typically big box stores, they're looking to make a smaller footprint. Locally, I'll use Appalachian Outdoors as an example. They had a much larger footprint and they downsized to probably 2/3 of what they had before.
In State College, I'm Yaya Wan for the Center County Report.
The Downtown Improvement District told us that while it may look like there are many empty spaces, the actual percentage of commercial vacancies is under 9%.
Still to come on the Center County Report. When will we get a break from the cold? We check the 7-day forecast.
And looking ahead to the biggest challenge of the year for Penn State football. Also coming up, a festive holiday celebration returns to Bellefonte next week. We'll take a look at what you can expect.
As Christmas draws closer, so does a popular holiday celebration in Center County. Reporter John Hartley takes a look ahead to Bellefonte's Victorian Christmas.
It's a weekend full of Christmas music, decorations, shops, and Santa in a Pennsylvania town that looks like something out of a Hallmark holiday movie. The 43rd annual Bellefonte Victorian Christmas is set for next weekend, December 13th through the 15th.
I think people should definitely just look around and see all of the shops and places to eat because there's a lot of really special places.
Public Relations Chair of the Bellefonte Victorian Christmas Planning Committee, Elizabeth Schwartz, says the event draws people from across the region and is great for the community.
It definitely helps people get into the holiday spirit because they can see a bunch of other excited people Christmas shopping and enjoying holiday festivities.
One of those special places is new this year, and Schwartz expects it to be a hit among kids.
Before Victorian Christmas, you can go and pick up a package of Legos that costs some amount. I don't know how much. And then you make something holiday themed out of Legos, and then it will be displayed at the Bellefonte Brick Studio.
One of the most popular activities includes fun for the entire family, and that's already sold out.
Each of these people who buy a cookie tin ahead of time should show up for the cookie crawl in Bellefonte or downtown Bellefonte at around 10 a.m. And they go to each one of the places marked on their cookie crawl sheet and they pick up a cookie.
But there are all kinds of things to do at Victorian Christmas, from the Festival of Trees and horse-drawn carriage rides to breakfast with Santa and gingerbread house displays. And it all begins next Friday. In Bellefonte, I'm John Hartley for the Center County Report.
Events officially begin next Friday at noon with a makery activity at the Bellefonte Art Museum. Then a model railroad at 2, and the Festival of Trees begins at 4 p.m.
Visitors to Penn State's University Park campus have a new way to pay for parking. Drivers can now pay with their phones at gated parking decks, but payment must be with a credit card. Apple Pay and Google Pay are not yet available. And there's a 26-cent fee for all purchases. Now, here's Sean with the weather.
Thanks, Jordan. Man, it is cold out there today. Cold and overcast. There are some snow flurries floating around, though, so that's pretty nice if you like the snow. It's 27 right now here in State College. It feels like 17. It is a really ugly, cold day out there today. So, winds are still out of the west. 10. Temperatures across the region. It's 20 up in Johnstown. That was the last place to break into the 20s. 27 here in State College. And it is 35 in Philadelphia, so it is warming up once you get east of the mountains. It's starting to get a little bit warm, but still very, very chilly. The high today is only 28, so it's really not going to go anywhere temperature-wise. There's a chance for flurries, as we've seen throughout the morning. Mostly cloudy. There will probably be a little breaks of sun in the afternoon. Winds continually out of the west, 10 to 15, so enough just to really put the bone chill into you. Now, the almanac for today is actually our average low is 28 degrees. So seeing our high today at 28, really a surprise. So we're definitely way off in terms of what our averages are for this time of year. Now, tonight's forecast across the region, it will get down to 22 here in State College. 26 is our warm spot, obviously, in Harrisburg. Some snow showers, that lake effect still wandering around in the northwest, so that'll be out there. It'll get into the teens in Johnstown and Franklin, which is pretty normal for this time of year out that way. Now, on Saturday planner across the region here in central Pennsylvania, it's still very cold. It's a frozen start at 22 degrees, so really a chilly, chilly morning for sure. Gets up to close to 30, still very chilly as I mentioned. It's a dull and cold afternoon, mostly cloudy. Those clouds will thicken up, especially in the evening across the northern part of the state especially. Taking a look at our futurecast, timing everything out, you can see Erie still getting absolutely pounded by that lake effect snow that we mentioned earlier. Clouds generally in and out, sun for most of the rest of the region. Northern tier will stay pretty much socked in, that's for sure, later into the day today. Into tomorrow, again, that lake effect just continues, and then it finally moves off when that wind direction does change. As I mentioned, it's very dependent on that wind direction. Clouds will stay again through much of the northern half of the state. You will see some breaks of sun Saturday afternoon, especially in the southern portions of the state. But then as we move forward through the day on Saturday, those clouds just sort of continually come off the lake, and there really is very little break in terms of actual sunshine. So again, Sunday, southern half of the state stays pretty warm and clear, but the northern half is completely socked in with clouds. As we look forward in time, the next weather maker will be on Monday. That's when everything starts to get interesting again. The rain starts to move in, and that we'll see that throughout most of the day on Monday, this big whole system the Euro is bringing together. And then later in the day, Wednesday, we could see a little bit of snow once again, believe it or not. And then as we get forward into our 7-day, it will start to warm up, which is helpful. So you will see a little bit more of the 50s and 60s as we get towards the later half of next week.
I know I've definitely been enjoying the snowy weather, so I am sad to see it go.
Well, I for sure am enjoying the snow as well, but 50s and 60s a little better, that's for sure.
The wind has been brutal. I'm not enjoying it. I don't think I've ever walked faster to get to class. Thanks, Sean. We'll now send it over to Anthony Descher with sports.
It's a big week for sports. Penn State basketball with a monster upset last night. We'll have more on that. Plus, Nittany Lion volleyball is set to start its postseason run this evening. We'll look at their first round matchup. Also ahead, the practices are over. Now, the number 3 ranked Nittany Lion football team is ready for its first Big Ten title game in 8 years. We preview the big game next. I'm Anthony Descher with sports. The Penn State men's basketball team kicked off Big Ten play with a massive 81-70 upset over 8th-ranked Purdue last night. Ace Baldwin Jr. led the Nittany Lions scoring effort with 17 points and 6 assists. In a game that at one point saw Penn State lead by 27 points, defense was key, forcing the Boilermakers to turn the ball over 24 times. As the game ended, students stormed the court to celebrate the win. And Coach Mike Rhodes told the crowd, "This is what we're gonna do." The 8-1 Nittany Lions are back in action next Tuesday when they travel to Rutgers to take on the Scarlet Knights. To football now, the Nittany Lions are headed to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. They'll meet an opponent they haven't played since 1995. Here's our preview. For the first time in 8 years, the Nittany Lions are back in the Big Ten championship. After a 44-7 win against Maryland and a Buckeye loss, they punched their ticket to Indianapolis. Now, they face the toughest test of the season, going against the number 1 team in college football, the 12-0 Oregon Ducks. Oregon's roster is full of playmakers that can impact the game in an instant.
You know, there's certain players that we need to be aware of, just like they need to be aware of Abdul, right? There's certain players you better have a plan for, or they can make the game even more challenging than it needs to be.
The Ducks' 35 points a game is top 20 in all of college football. Their arsenal of weapons on offense allows them to put pressure on opponents.
They got an explosive group of receivers that's well experienced and know what they're doing, with an experienced quarterback as well. And, something that we've got to be extremely locked in on the small things and come ready to play.
The Ducks roll out a two-headed monster on defense, mixing size and speed with 6'6" Jordan Birch and Mateo Uiagalelei. Birch is a problem off the edge.
Obviously, that's a challenge lining up against him. You know that he's got the strength and the size to go and bull rush you.
While Birch brings the power, Uiagalelei uses his skill from the other side.
He's pretty good. He's quick, twitchy, athletic. They pose different challenges but similar challenges, and I think they're very much similar to the guys that we see each and every day.
Both defenses have been strong all season, being two of the most well-rounded units in the country. Solving them will be a test for both teams. Plenty of eyes will be on Lucas Oil Stadium as Penn State looks to win the Big Ten title for the first time since 2016. Saturday's kickoff is at 8 p.m. You can listen to the game live on Penn State Com Radio with our broadcast team in Indianapolis. Now to high school football and the state championships. The Bishop Guilfoyle Marauders beat Port Allegheny 41-22 in yesterday's Single A high school football championship. The Gators found themselves in a 14-0 hole in the second quarter before quickly tying the game at 14 by the middle of the third. But BG went on to score 4 unanswered touchdowns as they put the game away with dominance. This is Bishop Guilfoyle's 5th state championship in the last 10 years. Penn State women's volleyball begins its push for a national championship this weekend, and the Nittany Lions host the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Reporter Ethan Ellis is live at Rec Hall with more. Ethan?
Thanks, Anthony. After a 29-2 regular season, the Penn State women's volleyball team is set to host some postseason action right here in Rec Hall. The team is coming in with a ton of momentum after a massive 3-1 win over Nebraska last weekend. The Lions won the conference title for the first time since 2017, but they struggled against top 10 teams, swept by Pitt and Wisconsin in their 2 losses this season. They'll take on Delaware State here tonight if they must win if they want to make the next game tomorrow. They'll also host regional action next week before the semifinals and finals in Louisville. Back to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Ethan. That's all for sports. Now back to you, Thomas and Jordan.
Anthony, thank you. What a win it was, and what a scene it was inside the Bryce Jordan Center last night. A program-defining win for Mike Rhodes.
Yeah, just an exciting week of Penn State athletics all around.
And it's definitely about to get a lot more exciting with this Oregon-Penn State game. The hope is that the Nittany Lions can pull off that win. But thanks, Anthony. Coming up next, Christmas time is here, and so is the holiday fun in State College. From Santa photos to cozy trolley rides, find out what's in store tonight.
State College invites you to come out for some holiday fun tonight. After the holiday season kicked off with Light Up Night downtown, now there's First Friday. The event from 5 till 8 this evening features holiday-themed activities. There are photos with Santa, trolley rides, hot chocolate, and more. It's a nice way to embrace winter and have some holiday fun.
What a fun event. That's all for today's newscast. We hope you'll join us Tuesday for our next local news update.
But you can follow us anytime for breaking news on our Center County Report X. And you can see our stories on our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. Have a good afternoon.